It's that time. A GM Facepalm episode. Today we're going to talk about the Vegepygmy. I don't know how to pronounce this thing. If you're at all familiar with the Jade Region videos I did, particularly the very first ones, you would notice how horrible the pronunciation was on that. I kept saying Jade Regent over and over and over. So, I don't know how to pronounce these things, but we'll just show it to you. Vegepygmy? Bestiary 1. Anyway. For those of you familiar with the brown mold, the russet mold, these creatures spawn forth from them. Been meaning to get to a video for a while here, but life changes. Going from 40 hours a week to now working 55 hours a week with a recent career change. So that's limited my time devote to YouTube or role-playing in general. The Iron Gods Adventure path that I'm running that has been under some severe restraints. I'm dedicating myself to complete it. It's just the prep time for it is drastically gone down. So hopefully the quality won't go down with it as well. So I'm going to continue to work on that. But in the meantime, I had a spare moment here. The Vegepygmy, these plant creatures, ran into them in Iron Gods and a few other times. Normally around the russet mold. Anyway, I thought this would be a great PC race, being that they are CR 1/2, and I posted the stats for these as far as for a player race. So I hope you enjoy this. I've also posted it to Paizo, so if you want to just do a quick search of that, you can. I responded to someone who was thinking about creating a player race, so usually I try to respond to those and submit one if I already have it, so most of the work's already done. Normally it's just not even looked at or answered, or if it is, it's crazy. You get some nasty people on there, so anyway, once again, no monetary value. Bringing you some of those endless options, further frustrations to your facepalm table. So, the Vegepygmy. What I like about these, when I saw this creature, what commonly comes to mind, someone that wants to play like a bone shaman, bone druid, whatever it is, some sort of connection to flora, plant life, some kind of a druid, perhaps a summoner. When I thought about the summoner part of it, or maybe with the shaman, with spirits, even further than that, in the occult adventures, whatever it is, the new occult classes, at least the ones that are in the playtest version, and then of course those classes will be out later on this year here. But coming across one of those, the summoner version of the occult class, something with a spirit, I thought, how cool would it be to play a Vegepygmy that, and the host body that it spawned from, maybe a residing spirit, could be that part of the, what would be represented as the occult eidolon. I thought that would be really cool. Maybe having a dual nature where a part of the sentience, the spirit that remains maybe partially within that host body, some of it is transferred to the Vegepygmy. So maybe they have recollection, a vague memory of things from their host body, since they do kind of revere these bodies. Maybe what happens if, you know, that whole thing of rolling the bones, you know, getting results from that, having a spirit, whether it manifests in a violent manner or one of more of a coexistence. Really great options there. Great story that can be built from that. That would introduce a lot of great role-playing dialogues between players and the GM. So, even though we're going to go with the crunch here, as people like to determine what's crunch, what's fluff. Already, I'm giving you some thoughts on potential fluff for the role-playing aspects of the game. So, I think I've bored you enough. We'll just get right into this. I made this a lesser Vegepygmy, mainly because the plant RP cost is like 10 points. And then, already I'm trying to bring the points down so that it doesn't become a monstrous race. So I consider them a lesser, which they have not inherited the full capabilities of their race, so they're either weaklings or hybrids. Many strike out on their own to explore the greater world, hence why they're not with a group or a clan, a tribe. So I've got them out to be at 18 racial points. So this should bring some kind of balance to those that are balance-wary GMs. That could be used with core races, standard races, advanced races. Keep that in mind. Somewhere around the Tiefling or Azumar racial point cost. So these could be easily mixed in with them. I went through and did some alternate racial traits and some actual race traits. And the one thing that comes up, a significant challenge to this, is that they don't talk. And that can bring about some momentary confusion, because they list languages here. And you just have to wrap your head around the fact that they cannot speak. They can do like clicks, whistles, thumps, as a form of communal communication or language in a way. Very crude rhythmic taps, beats, clicks. They can interpret those. So, now here comes the problem. What about spellcasting? Especially when most of them require a verbal component. So that's where you're going to have some problems with this. So I've spearheaded that in Vegepygmy fashion. So I'll just go over this real quick. Their crude form of language does not interfere with spellcasting, but it does apply to spells that are language dependent. So keep in mind ones where the components where it requires only the verbal component, okay? Somatic and the other one, whatever it is. When casting a spell that is solely verbal for component requirements, you can have a natural primal magic event occur. The primal magic event CR is equal to caster level. If you're not familiar with what a primal magic event is, you can check out the Inner Sea Magic book. One of my players gave me this thought to go with as far as how to deal with the verbal part of it. And it's kind of neat to bring in like a very, very, very small subsystem into the game and try to utilize that Inner Sea Magic book. So if you're interested with that route, I would suggest that. If not, whoa-ho-ho! I did bring about a verbal component alternative. So this one is, their crude form of language does not interfere with spellcasting. That's right. But it does apply to spells that are language dependent. So when you have that spell that only has verbal as the casting component, when you're casting a spell that is solely verbal for component requirements, natural primal magic event occurs. No, we already did that one. Where's that one? Where is it? Okay, here we go. I listed it as a vulnerability, so I'm calling it a verbal component vulnerability. And what this is, Vegepygmy are unable to cast any spell that only requires verbal as a spell casting component, such as blur, blindness, deafness, power word, kill, all the power words. However, Vegepygmy's crude form of communal language does not interfere with multiple component spell casting, which includes verbal. So as long as it has semantic or something else, as long as it's okay if verbal is in there, because the verbal components are sounds that are not tied to a specific spoken language. such as the clicks, the hoots, and the hollers, only when they are used in conjunction with somatic and or material components. So there you go. They can kind of get away with it because of their crude form of communal language. Even though it's not spoken, these sounds, though, are not tied to a specific language. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Of course, my blundering, my going through it, stumbling here, you can just look at the text version of this, negate whatever I've said here, just to bring maybe a better understanding to it. So there's two different types there. You can either go with the verbal component alternative with the primal magic event, or you can go with the verbal component vulnerability. So check that out. As far as talking in general, maybe this race would be perfect for those that don't really like to talk in a group. Maybe more of someone kind of like Snake Eyes, if you're familiar with G.I. Joe. More of just physical gestures, stances and such that would indicate a emotion, maybe. But for just languages here, Vegepygmy begin play understanding Undercommon and Vegepygmy, but cannot speak actual words. Vegepygmies communicate via a crude language of rhythmic taps, beats, hoots, whistles, and clicks. One way to make themselves understood is through pantomime. While overly complex conversations are not possible, a DC 10 linguistics check should allow simple communication, such as buying something. More complex communication, such as getting directions, requires a DC 20 linguistics check. Vegepygmies with high intelligence can choose from the following languages: Aklo, Dwarf, Common, Elven, Sylvan, Terran, and the primary language of their former life. So I'm trying to bring in their former life into this, so they can choose that. And then they also have a subtype, which would vary. Choose one other humanoid race to represent your former life. You gain that race type as a subtype, and also count as that race for all effects. You do not gain any bonuses or penalties, nor other abilities associated with that race. So, just to kind of bring about maybe any sort of distinctive features. Maybe your ears are slightly pointed. Maybe you came from an elf host body. Maybe you have more of a burly, bustier stature of that of a dwarf. Maybe your hair is a different variation in color. Rather than like the green and brown, maybe you're related more to like a gnome. So there are some options there. Maybe the Vegepygmy has horns. All right, to take more in suit with that of a Tieflin or Azamar. You know, so you can bring about a lot of distinctive looks, characteristics, physical features through that subtype. You can bring more of that host body through that Vegepygmy. Then, of course, they carry some of the bones. They use some of that in their weapons or armor. Maybe they use some of those bones as a way to communicate with that host spirit. Some sort of reverence felt there. So lots of great role-playing aspects to tie into this race. So it's not just a crude sort of crunch of information here. You have a lot of identifiable story elements here. So I definitely recommend that. I'll just post the rest of this crap here, just so you can go through that. Yeah, that's all I got. If you don't want the lesser version, the hybrid version, if you want to go with a full Vegepygmy that reflects the bestiary in a PC player race version, the racial point cost on that is 23. So something to keep in mind. Why is it 18 versus the full 23? Well, with the 23, you get the immunity to electricity. Instead, I took out the immunity and only made it resistance. So I was able to bump that down a little bit. So yeah. Let me know what you think. In the meantime, I'm kind of answering some other questions from those that have made some posts. So I'll be getting to that here shortly. And as always, hope this helps out. And I'll try to get a few more videos out here. and without a big block of time in between those. Until next time, see ya.